But I was wondering if you could we can kind of go back and forth and give a few players that we're taking, roughly rounds like 25 through 30 of drafts, with an eye towards these fab leagues we're about to start drafting. So do you have a player you want to throw out there?
Sure. So, I mean, I'm a little bit reluctant, but I guess I'm mostly done with DCs. And these are easier to pick there, although I think perhaps still have some value, hopefully in fab leagues. So like Denzel Clark is one I think I've gotten a lot. That's kind of been a weird playing time projection. I haven't dug super deep into it, but it's like the numbers just seem really low. I don't see why he wouldn't be like full time if he's healthy. And could be very low average, but as we talked about earlier, like there's ways to make that up, and you never know. You just get a little lucky on BABIP or improve the skills like somewhat, and then it's a good value, I think, at that point.
Yeah, I've got Clark on 2 of my 4 DCs so far. I'm with you. Like I think the playing time, Clark typically gets drafted around pick 400. And he's just like, if they're going to play Tyler Soderstrom in left field all year, they're going to need Clark in center field all year. And I think that they're willing to just let him play through. Like, obviously if he's just like Christian Pache, like they're not going to just let him keep playing. But if he's kind of just what he was last year, I think they will just let him keep playing. And, elite sprint speed, elite bat speed. And, we've seen, when he gets a hold of one, he can hit it. I think he hit one over 470 feet last year. He's 6'5". His big problem was ground balls. One of his big problems was ground balls, but I think he's capable of slightly improving that aspect, and he's had times in the minors where it wasn't that big of a problem for him. So then just the added bonus of playing half his games in that park in Sacramento. So a lot to like there with Clark. So this is, I feel I'm second guessing myself here, Steve, because you had some negative things to say about Jorge Soler earlier. But I'll just throw out the fact that I've got Jorge Soler on about half my teams, I think, as well. He's going right around Denzel Clark, again, around pick 400. And I think you're dead on that he could just be out of a job if he's sucking again this year. But, the most comparable year of Soler's career, I think, to 2025 was his 2022 season, where his strikeout rate was up around 29%. ISO was below 200. And then he followed that year up with a second career 35-plus homer season. And I think his seasons are just all over the place. Like, he's just so – like, he sort of strikes me as a guy where it's like if he had a good offseason and, like, put in the work, like, he probably went on to have a good year. And then if he didn't really, then he sucked, because it's just not consistent really year to year with Soler. And he could definitely be washed up. I mean, he's old enough to be washed up. But I think the fact that it's a contract year, like if he wants to get one more big league deal, he has to have a good year this year. Otherwise, he's just going to be out of the majors. So I think he will play every day as long as he's performing. And like you said, he might not be performing at all, but I do think there's a chance for a cheap 25 homer season here from Soler with everyday playing time.
Yeah, that makes sense. I can see it. I'm trying to look at the depth chart. So I guess if they just put Adele in center, right? Like just with the Josh Lowe kind of addition. I haven't really thought through like all the ramifications there, but I think you're right. Like, it's a bad enough team that if he's hitting, he should play, and he has bounced back from the kind of season that he had last year before. So that makes good sense. The only thing, I don't know if this means a whole lot, but if you look at like the trajectory of the last few years, it is up and down a lot, but the one thing he's always had is like the high end EVs. And last year, like his max EV was about like 2 miles an hour slower than like it had been anytime recently. So I don't know if there was just an injury, that's just kind of random, because he did have fewer like balls in play like to measure that on. But That's kind of something that stands out a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Very good to point that out. All right. Back to you, Steve.
Yeah. So I don't know if I've gotten a whole lot, but definitely like someone who does stand out in that range is Mike Soroka, I think. So last year as a starter, he had an 18.5% K minus BB. There was only 8 or so innings pitched, but that would have been like top 20 among qualified pitchers if he had been able to keep that up. Going super late, I think there's has more upside than most in that range, and like has the job, so it's kind of that solid floor with like some ceiling on top of it. So there's not a whole lot of pitchers that are appealing in that range, but he's one that I think stands out a little bit.
Yeah, no, I Soroka kind of similarly to you. I like him. I just don't have that much of him yet. But I'll be interested to see how he looks in the spring too. He might stay cheap throughout draft season. We'll see. So I've got I've got a couple more pitchers. I'll start with Max Meyer of the Marlins, who is a significant innings risk. He's going around pick 390, 395 in recent DCs. He might be going a little bit higher than that as we get closer to opening day, especially if he's looking good in the spring. But he showed a really, really high ceiling at the start of last year, and then injuries caught up with him as they seem to typically do. But I think he will basically just be in the rotation until he's not healthy, and he's cheap enough that even if that's only 8, 10, 12 starts or something like that, it might still be worth it. But I like the price on Max Meyer going around pick 400.
That's a good one. I know I've seen plenty of like tweets about certain filters, and he's one of those standard like a bunch of good pitchers, and then it's Max Meyer. But like if you do it by ball percent and swinging strike and maybe ground balls or something like that, so it just seems like a good pick in that range. I think I've got like one share, maybe one or two. Like my last one's not great for Fab Leagues, but it's probably the person I had the most in that range. Garrett Clevenger, it's more like a DC play where it's like good ratios. You can leave him in. You'll probably get a few saves if with a little bit of luck. And it's one of these standard cases where like if you think it's going to be a committee or a share of saves, like why not get the one who's going a lot later? Oftentimes it works out in terms of the value. So I don't know like how much appeal he has in like a shallow Fab League, or even like a deeper Fab League, but it's like a nice kind of DC piece.
Yeah, is that it? Yeah, I mean, I wish I had some Clevenger now. Don't have any Clevenger. I got one Griffin Jacks. So I don't know. What do you think? Like 15, 20 saves from Jacks? Take the under on that?
I would take the under on that. I don't know if I have a good reason necessarily, but I did get Jacks, I think, in the meatball, but I'm not sure if I've got him since then. And it might just be like it's messy, kind of mostly stay away. But he's going earlier than I would have thought at the outset of draft season. So that just seems a bit pricey for the level of certainty that we have. If it looks like it's going to be him, more often than not, then I think it works out well for the people who got him at that price. But it's a pretty costly bet to make. Looking at like what a 158 ADP by what I have. I don't know. It's a little too early for that, I think.
Yeah, very very wise. My last nomination here is Max Meyer's rotation mate, Braxton Garrett, also going around actually he's going quite a bit late. I think he's going like early 400s, mid 400s. And again, coming back from UCL revision surgery. So who knows how he looks early this spring, and I assume he'll be built up in time for opening day, but a lot of risk with Braxton Garrett. But I just think if he is healthy, he's going to pitch in that rotation all season, and he's typically been quite good when he's been healthy. So I think it's a solid bet.
Yeah, the projections, compared to people in that range, love him. He really stands out. And I'm not sure how much they're factoring in, all the time off and so forth, but he's always, like you said, been pretty good. And if he's healthy now, it's not at all a bad shot to take it, whatever pick that is, 400 or almost 450, it looks like.